What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for February 21st, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a feel-good Friday edition of the podcast. Very cold, but it's supposed to be 50 by the end of the weekend. Sign me up. We got Phillies spring training action tomorrow. It's going to be a good weekend. But before we get into the episode, let's do some quick housekeeping and a couple announcements. First and foremost, as always, be sure to follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mont on Twitter and TikTok, on Instagram at PhillyJimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. Continue to spread the word. A couple quick announcements about that. If you're not following on any of the social media, go ahead and check it out, because as I do this day, I've been adding some highlights or clips or something to kind of spice them up a little bit, at least until they ding me for copyright infringement. Not dealing with any of that on YouTube yet. Still kind of working some things out. But if you'd like to see some of the clips and highlights of what I'm talking about, go over to my Twitter or my Instagram or even TikTok, and you're able to see that. Twitter only allows me to do 2-minute videos, so sometimes when they're a little bit longer, they're cut short. So hit me up on Instagram, even Facebook for that matter, as I put them in. Also, we did this last year. I'll have more information when it's up and running. However, the 2025 Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame ballot is being sent out at some point this weekend. So, as you remember last year, there was an opportunity for you to predict the actual ballot to win tickets for the ceremony in November. Once I have the details on all that, I will get them over to you. But just something coming down the pipeline as we get ready. Already, it's crazy to think, gearing up for November's induction ceremony. Be sure to check out my boys over at On Pattison. Great Philly sports coverage, especially the Phillies. Lots of good things coming out of spring training from them. You can sign up and get their free newsletter delivered right to your inbox, which kind of digests everything for you. We're featured in there a couple times a week, so go check out On Pattison for all your Philly sports needs. All right, we interrupt your Super Bowl celebrations. Hard to believe it was just a week ago. We were all down in Philly, all along Broad Street, along the Parkway, celebrating the Eagles' Super Bowl victory. But we interrupt that good vibe to bring you an update on your Philadelphia 76ers. Blown the F out yesterday against the Celtics. Zero effort, zero energy. And what makes it even more frustrating is they had the full roster. Everybody played minus Jarrett McCain. Joe had 3 rebounds. You heard that right, 3 rebounds. Tyrese Maxey, for his effort, had 5. So 124-104, they lost to the Celtics. And truthfully, it wasn't even that close. The Celtics were in coast mode in the fourth quarter. I don't know what's going on with this team, but they're broken. And Joe talked again after the game about getting his knee right. He needs to fix the problem. Well, at this point, there's like 27 games left. You're 15 games under 500. Somehow, I guess it's just more of the way the NBA Eastern Conference is. They're only a game and a half out still of the play-in. I want no parts of that. They're still tied for that 6th draft spot. That's what we need to be focused on. Shut Joe down. Fix the problem. There's no reason to really extend this out. If there's a problem, you need to fix it. As Joe, out of his mouth, said, I need to fix the problem. Fix the problem. This team is going nowhere this year. And at this point, it's time to blow it up. I was like, oh, they could do this. They could build around a 80% Joe with Tyrese Maxey and Jarrett McCain. At this point, blow it up. You need draft picks. And I would even say at this point, I mean, they need to get out of the Paul George contract. That goes without saying. But at this point, I'm fine with trading Tyrese Maxey. Get whatever you can for him while the getting is good. And just go back into the process days and try to build in the draft again. Because the team as constructed is not going anywhere. I don't have faith that Daryl Morey and Elton Brand can get the job done. They've had their opportunities. They've had their chances. This team has done nothing but underachieve. Blow it all up, including Tyrese Maxey. But that does lead to today's question of the day. Would you trade Tyrese Maxey now? I do feel as though we held on to Joe a little bit too long. We could have gotten something for him. I feel like sometimes we overvalue our own players, and that's not taking anything away from Tyrese Maxey. But is it time to possibly look this offseason to trade him while his trade value probably isn't going to get much higher than what it is now, especially the way and the shape that this team is in? But let me know your thoughts. 267-495-8531. That'll get you in. Get that. Anything else Philly sports related off your chest. I'm like, trade him away. Go back to bring Sam Hinkie back. Let him do the process 2.0 because this team is not going anywhere. And I really do feel as though I think the lack of effort yesterday, the lack of energy, the lack of just basically caring. It was like they were just playing because they had to just play. And they're going nowhere. So to keep putting Joe out there when he's obviously not 100%, like 3 rebounds. You're 7'2". How do you get 3 rebounds by accident? Like something is wrong. Fix the problem. And I would say, like I said, blow it up. Get what you can for Maxey. Hell, trade Jarrett McCain at this point. Because by the time he comes back from that knee injury and is healthy enough to play, who knows if he's ever going to be the way, like, get what you can. Start stockpiling draft picks. Call Howie Roseman for advice. And just, we need to start over. Like 100% start over. We are going to end up in the next few years being in the NBA purgatory where we were pre-process with Thad Young and Drew Holiday and Andre Iguodala. Like, we're going to be in purgatory where we're just good enough to maybe sneak into the play-in or maybe, like, I don't think we're ever going to get a 6 seed, but just enough to get into the play-in tournament, but not good enough to win the lottery. So blow it up, start from scratch, and that includes Tyrese Maxey. At this point, maybe I'm too emotional the other way. Usually I'm like pro Sixers, but at this point, nobody should be safe. Nobody's job should be safe. Everybody should be available in an effort to gain some assets and some pieces to actually get a competitive team in a few years. But what do you think? Should they entertain trade offers for Tyrese Maxey? Because Tyrese, I don't think he's going to be the guy you build around. I think he'd be a good complementary piece for a contender. But let me know your thoughts on that. Maybe I'm just over the top and whatever. Maybe the good feelings and the good vibes from the Eagles Super Bowl are starting to wear off. But let me know your thoughts on Tyrese. All right, let's recap yesterday's question of the day. Eagles promoted Kevin Patullo as their offensive coordinator. And I asked you, do you like it? 83% of you liked it. And a lot of the comments and feedback I was getting were he knows the system. He does have experience. Lots of comparison to the Brian Johnson. But I do feel as though the fact that he has far more NFL experience than what Brian Johnson did, that bodes well. Everybody said hopefully Jalen was consulted. And I really don't think they would do something like this with it, even if it was just a courtesy where they weren't really going to take his input. They went to him. So I feel this move provides them some sort of stability, like I said yesterday. Like I said, he knows the system. He's probably already getting to work. So I'm okay with it. But thank you, as always, for participating in the question of the day. Today's question, though. Should the Sixers entertain trade offers for Tyrese Maxey this offseason? I say do it. Blow it up. Blow it up like how the vet. Just blow it all up. But the Combine starts Monday. It's already starting to hear rumors about Myles Garrett and who's leaving, who's staying. Free agency doesn't start till March 10th. That's when the legal tampering period starts, which I never understood. It's either illegal or legal. Tampering is either allowed or not allowed, but whatever. One thing I did learn, and I doubt any of the free agents that they have are going to be entertaining this, but the Eagles could sign any of their pending free agents. And really, there's the big four: Zach Bond, Milton Williams, Mekhi Becton, and Josh Sweat. I really don't think Sweat is going to be here. Milton Williams is probably going to cost them too much. I really would like to see Bond and Becton back, specifically Bond, but we'll see as we get in. But we got the rest of this weekend, and we're already focused now on the NFL Combine and the draft and all that other good stuff. So here we go. Phillies. Tomorrow, as I mentioned, their spring training set of games kicks off. It's not on TV. It is on the radio. I'll be listening to it only because I want to hear how they're going to play this lineup. They keep all the talk is about the tweaks in the lineup. We had the question of the day. WIP morning show took my question of the day with the exact same three candidates that I had on Wednesday, by the way. So, like I said, Jimmy Seltzer, come on, man. Give me a shout out. That's all I need. Give me a shout out. I can come on once a week and do this week in Philly sports history if you don't want to give me a daily thing. But it's obvious you're taking my stuff, or at least borrowing it. Shouldn't say taking, borrowing. So just come on, man. Like I can do a quick 2-minute hit once a week this week in Philly sports history, or I can do 1 minute a day. Just say, call me. But the big news out of Phillies camp is Bryce Harper. And I don't know if this is the ultimate case of pandering. I don't know if this is the ultimate power move to John Middleton. But he does have a tattoo now of the Fanatic on his forearm, riding his ATV. And I don't know whether this is awesome or just ridiculous. I'm thinking it's somewhere in the middle, probably a little bit of both. But at this point, like, how can you get traded now or sign or go anywhere near the end of your career? Like, imagine him going to the Mets with a Philly Fanatic tattoo on his arm. So I don't know if he's posturing himself to get that extension. Maybe they give him a stake in the team. Is he saying, I'm going to be here the rest of my life? I don't know, but that was the big story. Bryce Harper with the Philly Fanatic tattoo in either a brilliant, and the way things are going to go, like, you can't trade me now. I have the Philly Fanatic on my arm, or I don't know. If you want to give your thoughts on that as well, that's fine. Like I said, it's either the most amazing, awesome thing ever or the most ridiculous thing ever. Probably a little from column A, a little from column B. But spring training games start tomorrow, so I'm anxious to see what Topper does. All right, the final story in Philly sports today, and full disclosure, not a huge fan of this guy, and probably going to piss some people off, but I'm going to try my best to be a little balanced here. But Fran Dunphy is retiring at the end of the year after leading LaSalle for the past couple seasons. He's known as Mr. Big Five. He played at LaSalle. He coached, I think he coached somewhat at Nova or went to school at Nova at some point. Coached, obviously, at Penn, Temple, and now LaSalle. Tonight, I believe, is his 1,000th game coached in the Big Five, winning 623 of them, most ever by a big-time coach. Now, can't deny anything about Fran Dunphy when it comes to being all Mr. Big Five. Like, great nickname, bleeds for the city, all of that other good stuff. However, like I said, I'm not a big fan of his. I personally think he's one of the most overrated people in Big Five history. Yes, he was successful at Penn. And to me, though, his entire tenure at Temple was just one big disappointment. And I get that at this point, Temple was never going to go back to the way it was when I was there. The Chaney days, those days are long gone. And I get that. But Dunphy certainly, I feel, did not. And I know there's a lot of other Temple basketball fans that feel the same way. He underachieved. he had a lot of great teams, a ton of great players. He had some great wins. Don't get me wrong. Lots of great wins. They seem like they always beat a top 10 team every year when Dunphy was there. But when it came to the time that mattered, whether it was the Atlantic, I believe he was still in the A10 for a little bit, when they were in the Big East for a year or two, when they were in the American, that tournament, and then in the biggest stage of them all, the NCAA tournament, he choked. And, I mean, he had players like Lavoy Allen, Khalif Wyatt, Deontay Christmas, great players that went on to have maybe not great NBA or professional careers, but solid players in the NBA. I mean, Khalif Wyatt and Lavoy Allen both had cups of coffee with the Sixers. Lavoy Allen actually played a couple of years with the Sixers. But when it came to the tournament, there's a reason why they call him One and Dunphy. He just is not a big game coach. And great, he had a long tenure in the Big Five, but I'm not going to be shedding any tears over Fran Dunphy retiring. I mean, he lost twice as a 5 seed. Should have never lost to Cornell. Maybe Temple was overranked that year. I don't know. But that South Florida game was absolutely ridiculous when they couldn't hit a shot. They should have beaten Arizona State when they had James Harden. And I blame that a lot on coaching. They actually shut down James Harden that game. And no adjustments. The San Diego State year in the second round, San Diego State was the 2 seed, but that game should have never gone into overtime. Temple should have won that game. The year they played Indiana, that was a tough game when Indiana was the 1 seed. They played them tough. I think Indiana, that was the year they had Victor Oladipo. But then the last time, our last memory, our last time that our Temple Owls made it to the NCAA tournament, we were in the play-in tournament, and we got blown out by Belmont. Belmont. So forgive me if I'm not shedding any tears over Fran Dunphy. Listen, I'll give the man credit. Coached a long time in the Big Five. He's Mr. Big Five, most wins of any Big Five coach. But truthfully, Fran Dunphy was a good coach. He was a good coach in the Ivy League. He was an underachieving coach at Temple. And he's not great. John Chaney is a great coach. Jay Wright, great coach. Herb McGee, great coach. Fran Dunphy, good coach. I don't know. I've never met him personally. He was at Temple after I was gone. Maybe he's a nice guy. I've heard some conflicting stories. I don't know him personally. He's not a great coach. So he's going to get a ton of praise and a ton of flowers in the next few weeks and months. But I'm sorry, I can't do it. He's not a great coach. He compiled a lot of wins while at Penn. He had, like I said, he had some great teams at Temple and couldn't do anything with them. So, like I said, I don't want to rain on anybody's parade, and I'm sure there's a lot of you out there that love Fran Dunphy, and that's great. I'm not a fan. I think I'll admit, like, I was intrigued to see what he could do coming from the Ivy into an actual conference where he could recruit and have more scholarships and things like that. But I think Temple kept him too long. I think Aaron McKee obviously got a raw deal because of the way, and he got frustrated with the way things ended up playing out, NIL and all that. That's a whole other issue, another story for another day. But I think Dunphy coached maybe 2-3 years too long at Temple. I would have loved to have seen what Aaron McKee could have done pre-NIL. And I don't know. Like I said, congrats on coaching 1,000 games. Congrats on being the winningest Big Five coach Big Five coach of all time. But to me, he's not a great coach. Phil Martelli, I'll give you, is a great coach for what he's done. I can't call Fran Dunphy great. I can't give him all the flowers and accolades that everybody's going to give him. And again, I know I might be alienating some of you out there, and that's not my intent. I'm just giving you my opinion. And maybe I'm just like a spurned ex-girlfriend, but I feel like he underachieved at Temple. Would they have ever gone to the Final Four with those teams? Probably not. but they should have made it out of the first round more than 2 times. And even a couple of times, like the San Diego State year, they should have won that game. They should have knocked off the 2 seed. And there is no way you should ever lose as the 5 seed to Cornell and USF as a 12 seed. So congrats on, excuse me, congrats on a solid career, Fran. All right, and we'll leave it at that. Be sure to check out my boys at the Clashing Conferences podcast. Lots of great things going on with their fan network. For more information, go to clashingconferences.com. The podcasts are available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. And then I feel like I'm bringing everybody down with the Sixers talk, the Fran Dunphy hate. So go to Philly Goat. It's still okay to celebrate the Eagles Super Bowl. They have those championship slides. They have the T-shirts. Still haven't figured out which slides I'm going to get. Something tells me I'm going to end up buying all of them. But go to Philly Goat. Check out their selection. Start getting ready for Philly season. The Union kickoff tomorrow as well. So want to get some Union gear. It's going to be a brutal year for them. But why not? Get in on the ground floor. Philly Goat has you covered. Be sure to use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. That's phillygoat.com. Promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order and get the slides. All right. So we're going to bring this up a little bit. I felt like I was down on Temple basketball and Fran Dunphy, but we're going to go back-to-back days now talking Temple basketball. And on this day, back in 1988, there was a time, believe it or not, kids, when Temple basketball was the center of the college basketball universe. They were must-watch TV. And on this day in 1988, the number 1 Temple Owls traveled down to UNC to take on the number 5 Tar Heels at the Dean Dome, whatever you want to call it, the Smith Center. Dean Smith and the Tar Heels that day, like so many other teams before and after them, could not figure out John Chaney's matchup zone. The Temple Owls forced 29 turnovers in this game. Mike Vrieswick led the way for the Owls with 26 points. Mark Macon added 19. And in this game, Temple was down 5 at halftime, but then they opened up the second half on a 19-0 run. Dean Smith and the Tar Heels had no answers, and it was all Owls from there. So the combination of the matchup zone, and they also shot 68% from the floor in the second half. This game turned into a laugher as a national TV audience saw the Temple Owls give the UNC Tar Heels their worst loss since 1980, their first non-conference loss at home in almost 2 years, and also their worst home loss since 1975. The Temple Owls just dominated pretty much the entire second half and went on to go to the Elite Eight that year, losing to the Duke Blue Devils. But one of John Chaney's greatest teams went down to North Carolina and blew out the Tar Heels in a game that looked like it was going to be close at the beginning, but just wasn't meant to be, as the Temple Owls beat the North Carolina Tar Heels, the number 1 team in the country, beat the number 5 team on this day back in 1988. All right, finally today, we are going to continue our Black History Legacy Makers with Philly ties, and today we're going to spotlight Chet Walker. Chet was a Michigan native, played his college ball at Bradley, and 2-time All-American while at Bradley. His number 31 is retired out there. He was drafted he was drafted in the second round, number 12 in the second round by the Syracuse Nationals. And we know that the Syracuse Nationals became the 76ers. Chet averaged 19 points and 8 rebounds for that NBA championship team in 1967-68. And he did finish his career out with the Bulls. He's in the Bulls Ring of Honor, but he is a 7-time All-Star. But more importantly, he was very outspoken in civil rights. He was a great civil rights activist in his time. He spoke out against apartheid in South Africa. He also spoke out against the owners in the NBA in favor of free agency. And because of a lot of his stances, specifically when it came to the players' union, free agency, and contracts, he always felt he was blacklisted for speaking out against the owners, and kind of ended his career kind of short. After he got done, he entered the movie business and became a TV movie producer, which he won an Emmy for. So he was great with that. He was an author. He wrote a memoir, or his memoir, titled A Long Time Coming, A Black Athlete's Coming of Age in America. Really kind of detailed, like a lot of the guys we've been talking about this month, his experiences with racism and segregation in the NBA and basketball in general. Chet, though, is a Naismith Hall of Famer. He's in the Bradley Sports Hall of Fame. He's in the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. And honestly, Chet, thank you for bringing awareness to civil rights, bringing awareness to apartheid in South Africa, and just being a man who stood on his principles and stood up for what was right, even though it cost him probably a couple years and some money in his NBA career. So today we salute Chet Walker, Naismith Hall of Famer, NBA champion with the Sixers, and just a great person who brought a lot of awareness to a lot of things that people either didn't want to know about or didn't really think about. So Chet, today we salute you. Thank you for all that you've done. On this day, back in 1988, the number 1 Temple Owls went down to UNC to take on the number 5 Tar Heels, beating them 83-66 in a game where they just dominated the second half. Yeah, they couldn't figure out the matchup zone. We'll have more on the Phillies spring training and our first look at the new and improved lineup. Let me know your thoughts on Fran Dunphy. Let me know your thoughts on whether the Sixers should entertain trade debate for Tyrese Maxey. I'd say blow it up. It's time to blow it up. Start over fresh. Bring in Sam Hinkie Jr. I don't know what you got to do, but let's start the process 2.0. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for February 21st, 2025. My name is Jim Montgomery. It is a Feel Good Friday. Let's get happy. Sorry to bring it down like that, but sometimes I just got to get what's on my chest off. Go have yourselves a Friday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.